Welcome to part 4. And that's why I'm not greeting you with the peace greeting. And this one is largely addressed to the guys that are pickup artists, dom game division. These men that want us to uplift and exalt the black woman in the West. And this is also addressed to the women they want us to uplift who are supporting them. I'm still listening to Cluster. I forgot. I think it's Cluster 5. I'm still listening to her, the one and only Cookie Monster. And C Boogie came out with that video, I'm Him. I've already identified him as an enemy, and here's why. Somebody's got receipts that he was going to try to blame someone for being a pedophile without any proof. And then he comes out with that video, and in the end, he wants to say that Mr. Fantastic ain't even a man. He talks about controlling your bitch. Well, that's exactly the kind of talk that most of us would have been censured for saying. But because we don't have, we're not in the gym that often, we don't have the jawline, we don't get away with talking like that. But he talk about control your bitch. A wild animal has to be controlled, and that's exactly why the hell it is that I identify you as an enemy, C Boogie. You were telling grown men that they are supposed to control an adult. Now, I am all for not being controlled, and I'm all for being in charge. But you in the military, you understand that what happens when a soldier simply cannot take orders is that, one, they get demoted, and that's the beginning, and that's if they're lucky. You know better than I do the penalties for it. Eventually, they are dishonorably discharged. And that means that it's on their record that it was a dishonorable discharge. Employers can find this out, and they can't start living this great life afterwards. They can't just go into the job market and find a way to earn any living that's worth having. You understand that there are penalties for it, and they last even after the discharge, because the discharge is dishonorable. That's why they call it that. And to these women with whom you niggas collude and to whom you're trying to steer us, many of you all like to sit up here and try to justify the hybristophilic, animalistic mating preferences of the Western black bitch. And that's why I have to use that word. The sapphire, the boom shika. These mating preferences that actually make honorable black women in the West look bad. When they go abroad, they have to deal with the consequences of this. I'm just going to call it what it is. You see, my first mother-in-law in her city, just in her city in line, was hit up by a Russian guy talking about how much, and she didn't know he was even talking to her. She thought he was on the phone or something until he said to her and tapped on her arm how much. She looked and said, how much for what? You know. No, I don't know. I'm not selling anything. What are you talking about? I'm in the same queue you're in. I'm not selling anything. Then she realized this dude meant how much to get the booty, because as far as he was concerned, she was easy. That's what. Now, my first mother-in-law doesn't conduct herself like this. So where did this man get this idea from? He got it from other women. He got it from bitches. That's where he got it from. So at the end of the day, you all want to sit up here and justify her ways and her preferences and her effery, and you want to make it seem like she is okay and she is normal when she is not. You want to release videos, and I'm not identifying you as an enemy, Rom, but I have to disagree with you explaining some kind of womb imprint without coming out and saying she is a goddamn problem. because this preference going unchecked and explained away and justified is shaping negatively, shaping the DNA of the future generations. You see, when they go through this, when they have these standards, low standards that we have to struggle to meet, standards of unintelligence, standards of stupidity, stubbornness, criminality, standards of meeting and exceeding white people's negative stereotypes of us, they're going to pick the worst, and those are going to be the babies. Now, what happens when they realize that a lot of intelligent men have pretended, dumbing themselves down so as to appeal to these women, to get the draws, get some sexual satisfaction and relief? Then they're going to start looking for guys that are actually that stupid. They're going to start weeding out the ones that are pretending to be that dumb and start going for guys that actually are that dumb and then trying to have their babies. That's what they're going to be doing. And if intelligence really is genetic, and I've heard various takes on that, then what they're going to do is they're actually going to breed stupid kids. Not stupid by training or lack thereof, but genetically, organically, mentally incapable kids. Borderline retarded. And you sapphires are trying to justify this. And then some of you dating coaches and pickup artists, you're trying to justify the same goddamn thing. You want to explain it away. Let me give you an example of how bad that is. Most of you will tell me that my religion is a fluke and I'm in the wrong religion because the Arabs call us slaves all the time. And they do. Yes, this is one thing about which the disunited Arabs are actually very united. They are united in this. They do call us slaves. They call us slaves like it's a racial term. If you said the word slave today, they think you're talking about a black person, not an owned and possessed person. That's how bad it is. That is from Morocco all the way to Iraq. And that's a big area. The only thing about which they are united is that they call black people slaves. And it is based on our blackness, not on nationalities. It is not based on anything other than just us being black. Are you half slave, meaning are you half black? Imagine that. I want you to stop and think about that for a minute. Now, you don't like that, and you shouldn't. This is insulting. Even when they don't think of it as an insult, it's insulting as hell, and you would tell them that. And you would say to me, well, Blackheart, why are you over there living with them then? Well, guess what? When I hear them use this term, I call their ass out on it. I've even been told that I was going to be jumped because I wouldn't let people use this. They didn't think it was a big deal because they got so used to it. I told them if they don't think it's a big deal, then I'm going to call them terrorists. So if they're going to jump me, they're going to jump me for something I said that really, really gets them. And I'm going to call them terrorists. And when they come after me, they're going to find out that I can be a terrorist too. And if they don't jump me, then they don't have to find this out. Because I'm not walking around here starting stuff. It's them. It's their goddamn mouths. I had arguments where I sit up and I tell these tragic desert mulatto Bedouins, the problem is not my reaction. The problem is you. And if you think the problem is my reaction, then you're worse than a goddamn white man. You want to be him when you're not. Makes you even worse. I had some heated arguments with some of these niggas, and they don't listen. They want to interrupt, and I've had to shout down a few of them, maybe about twice. I've had to shout them down. And eventually what usually happens is say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be saying this. But they don't change the culture. That's not something they're going to do. They're not willing to admit that their culture is ucked, fucked, backwards, and inferior. And it is subhuman. Not violent, not dangerous, but it is subhuman. It is too stupid to be counted among the culture of human beings. Notice, I didn't say their religion is. And frankly, I don't think their religion is Islam. So I do believe their religion is also inferior because it's not Islam. It's a claim to it. It's not the real deal. The rules are clear. They're just not following them. That's another topic for another day. But many of you will sit up and say, well, you must be confused because you out there living with them people that you look like, trying to be one of them and be accepted by them. Do I sound like somebody trying to be accepted by them? Is that the way that I talk? There's some African Americans out here, and even non-African Americans, that are walking around here trying to speak more Arabic than I do when they're not actually using Arabic in the full conversation. Just, throwing Arabic into an English conversation. There's some that do that. They dress like them. They try to walk differently, but it's not quite the way that the Saudis walk, or the Emiratis walk, or the Qataris walk, or the Omanis walk. The way that Gulf Arabs in general walk. They try to put on these airs and affectations and wear the same things. They do try to do this, don't get me wrong. But you see, when they try these things, they actually look kind of foolish. They're not mistreated, but they look kind of foolish. And I'm not them at all. In real life, I never, ever dress like any of the Arabs at all. In real life, I never wear any of their clothes outdoors. And I don't wear them indoors either, actually. Not that it matters in private, but I don't do it. So when I argue with these folks, you can understand how I'm right in the argument and they're wrong. They want to justify it. Well, we don't literally mean slave. Well, we don't mean it as an insult. We just got used to saying this. Well, don't get offended. I'm like, nigga, fuck you. You tragic desert mulatto wannabe white bitch. You're offensive. You damn terrorist. You can't call people terrorists, and you can't call people slaves, especially for racial reasons. I know damn well you're not a terrorist. I never met one. You know goddamn well we're not slaves because you never met a slave. They don't exist. It's illegal. So fit the guck out my face with that sure bit. That's what we have to tell them. And you understand why I do it. You niggas sound exactly like they do when you sit up here and you try to justify her hybristophilic animalistic mating tendencies. Well, you ain't buck enough for me. At some point, it is your job to turn to her. And Sapphire, at some point, it is your job to look at yourself in the mirror. Not that you're ever going to do it, but it's still your job. Just like these Arabs are never going to change, but it's still their job. And they're deficient because they're never going to change? Fine. Well, now they're deficient. But guess what? They're actually changing. So while you want to point the finger and talk about how bad of people they are, and half the time you'd be right, the thing is they're actually going through changes for the better that you refuse to go through. You see, there is a divide in their society between the good and the bad. There really is. But a lot of the country Bedouins are abandoning those country backwards Bedouin ways and steps. These are improvements so long as they don't lose their religion. And frankly, like I said, they don't always have it to begin with. But what about you? What are the masses of Black America doing? Justifying you, trying to be exactly what Sapphire wants, which is low down and recidivist, if anything. It's going to get to a point, if you keep justifying this stuff, both of you, the men and the women, to do this, you gynocrats and you gynocratic goons, you matriarchs and you matriarchal mandingos, you keep doing this, it's going to get to a point where the American Black woman and the Canadian Black woman and the British Black woman are going to be going to zoos trying to sneak into gorilla cages to fuck gorillas because those are going to be the only ones that can sexually excite them because we're just not animal enough. I'm dead serious. That's what's going to happen. You let this go on, that's going to become the thing. Now, scientifically, anatomically speaking, I understand why that wouldn't actually work. They don't actually see human beings as sexual partners. They know that they're a different species, and plus their things are pretty little. I mean, from what I heard, they're quite small. There's actually no photograph of their genitalia because of that. But that doesn't mean that some dummies aren't going to try stupid stuff like this, because they will. It doesn't mean that. We already saw one of them walk up into a lion cage and start dancing. And that lion look was trying to figure out what the hell was this? Was she a threat or what? We already know about that. We saw the video. I don't know if they ever caught the woman or not. I think they did. Point I'm making is we got a lot of our sisters willing to do dumb, goofy stuff. And it's not because they're brave. It's because they're just goofy as hell. That lion could have ripped her arms the uck foff. He could have bitten through her neck with one side of his jaw. So I'm here to tell you that, I mean, y'all You're pulling back an entire people. The people that you want to save, you're actually pulling back because you're trying to justify the effery and the foolishness. And C Boogie, you a hypocrite, bruh. And here's why I'm gonna say that. I shouldn't have even said bruh, to be honest. And I do want to see things get better. Don't get me wrong. I want to see you, wake the hell up and get it, get it different, get it better. And I would close my mouth if that's the case, if I saw evidence of it. This is not personal. But anyway, I'm going to tell you why. See, Cookie Monster comes forward with integrity and apologizes, and then Mr. Fantastic came on and said, okay, this is not April Fool's thing? No? Okay, all right. We're going to let bygones be bygones. And you want to say that he's not a man because of that. He's not a man, but he's married to an attractive black woman with fully black kids. And I got nothing against your kids. Don't get me wrong. They don't choose their makeup anyway. It's not like they're not human. But the thing is, what I'm saying is that you did them a disservice. Not me, bro. I don't lay with, let alone marry white women. I don't lay with or let alone marry any women from any background that is not that has something against black people. That is not at least neutral to black people. You laid with a white woman, not something other where the relationship could be good or bad. No, you laid with the daughters of the ones that caused us all this goddamn problem in the first place. Here you used to talk about, the ABW, the American black woman ain't worth nothing, and now you caping for them when they're not improving themselves. The only ones I cape for are the ones that don't conduct themselves in stereotypical manners and don't make choices like that. You are talking about some game changer could have bought a stove for somebody in Baltimore. Yeah, he could have bought a stove for someone in Baltimore, and he was absolutely right when he said that in the Dominican Republic, she would have appreciated it more, and she did. He was absolutely right about that. The stove did not cost as much. It was probably much lighter to move around and to take to her place. It helps out. So in that regard, that's not a wrong thing to do. You didn't say nothing about the fact that he was tricking, period, that's fornication and paying for it at that. You didn't mention nothing like that. You got upset because he bought a stove. You wanted to clown him because I wouldn't say you even got upset, but you wanted to clown him along with other people because he bought a stove. And she appreciated it. And you want to talk about what he could have done. You and Stupid Sly want to talk about what he could have done in Baltimore. And it would not have been appreciated. She would have friend-zoned him if he had done something like that. And while friend-zoning him, she would have used that stove to probably try to cook something for somebody like you. Now, that's good for you. But, I mean, come on now. What game is that if Game Changer buys a stove for a Yankee woman that's going to turn around, friend zone him, and then try to cook for you while screwing you and pretty much taking his resources to spend on you? Yeah, that's real play and real pimp move for you, but what interest does Game Changer have in doing that? He has no interest in that. You have to understand that would be stupid of him. So when you sit up and you tell Game Changer that he's not a man because he accepted her show of integrity, actually, bruh, what if he had kept a grudge? Said, I don't care about your apology. What if he had done that? Then you would have said something about how he holds a grudge. He can't let bygones be bygones even after an American black woman shows integrity and comes out and sincerely apologizes and admits her role when she was in fact deceived into it in the first place. So why can't he accept the apology and let bygones be bygones? There's not a right thing to do. And it's time you and the women that you're caping for come out and just admit there's not really a right thing for most brothers to do if they want to start families with black women in the West. There is no right thing to do. The right thing for them to do in the eyes of you and them is to keep on simping and paying her so that she can go and actually cheat with you. It's like I said before, and I'm telling everybody now. What you and your kind want and what she wants is for us to pay her to screw you so that she doesn't come to you for these things. And even though you may know about how to survive in a SHTF situation, maybe even better than I do, maybe even better than many of us, you may know these survival skills, you still want someone else to foot the bill to take care of her. While you just tap it for free. Now I'm saying, cam up, nigga. And I don't like talking like this to people or about people. I really don't. But, bruh, I left geographically, and it appears that I'm going to have to actually leave the Negro community there for good because of the women you're caping for that really ain't even women, and niggas like you to cape for them. To us, you ain't the one necessarily respecting and upholding them per se, but you want us to do it. Give them all the non-sexual things they need so that they'll only come to you for the sex. No, that's not the way our testes work, bro. That's really some non-man shit. You're going to tell him he ain't a man because he's not willing to play this unmanly game to your benefit and his detriment. And the rest of us aren't either. It is a goddamn problem. She's the problem, and you're as much of the problem, effing up the community because you're supporting her. And you're not the only one, but you're the shining example. Now, Mr. Wills, I'm not identifying you as an enemy, but would you please stop explaining this stuff and without condemning them? Get on that case like even in front of us. You do tell them, I know you gently tell them in an advisory manner, fine. But at some point, you got to condemn them like, look, F your womb imprint. F whatever the hell happened. You know what happened, that's good, so you can get over it, but you're going to have to change. Because it is not our job to be a bunch of gorillas and King Kongs. It's not our job to fit the enemy stereotypes to make your vagina tingle. That's not the way this works. They got their stereotypes, that's in their mind. The one thing I do find is that I'm not going to say no other woman in the world holds her man to be the negative stereotype based on what the enemy thinks before she's willing to have his babies. It's not that, or before she's willing to show him any modicum of respect. I'm not saying that no other woman's like that. What I am going to say is that everybody knows she's trash if that's how she is. That is the case. What is true about only Western black people is that in any other community, a woman like that judges the men like that is seen as being trash, even among Latin Americans who have a high gang culture. Even those women are understood to be trash. Everybody understands it, and they don't treat them like they're anything better. But in reality, in our community, she can be this way, and when we're somehow supposed to understand it and try to be that instead of saying, wait a minute, bitch, you're flawed. And if all of you are like this, well, then all of you are flawed, and we just gonna move elsewhere. We'll take our testes and our DNA and our resources elsewhere. That's the problem. You all actually should get paid by the Ku Klux Klan and by the FBI's COINTELPRO division for what you've done. If you really want to know the truth, y'all should be rolling in dough. You should be flossing like it's a rap video. You should be posing with stacks of cash, stacks of hundreds actually, held up to your ear like a phone. That's the kind of videos you all should be making instead of these videos, because you are doing their job for them and you don't even know it. Ku Klux Klan they're probably broke actually, but they should be coming up with ways to pay you. Any white supremacist organization in the world should be willing to pay you guys buckets of cash. Because they don't have to do anything. If white supremacy is really a figment of my imagination, the real truth is it's actually in you being carried out in practice by youth. You goons, your ma'am dingoes, and your gynocrats and matriarchs. You're carrying this out. So no, it's not actually that white supremacy is imaginary. It's just that it doesn't have to necessarily be carried out by white people on a large scale. They can sit back waiting to cut until you stop doing your part. Then they can step in and resort to the overt violence again. But see, really in reality, that's why you all sit up and say you ain't built nothing. Black man ain't built nothing. She don't have to respect you. And why she's sitting up and saying, we don't need to respect you. You didn't build anything. Because you're lying. You're telling the same white supremacist lie that they would tell. Black people never built anything. That's what they said about us when we were in the motherland. We never built anything. Even Pastor Manning with his old coon ass said that. What did he say? Black man has never built nothing. Turns out black men built plenty of stuff. It's just that since most of Africa is tropical, when the city is abandoned, it goes back to nature very quickly. Angkor Wat in Southeast Asia is in a similar scenario, except that more of it was made out of stone. That's all that was. That's all we're looking at. Nothing else. So that being said, maybe you should go to them and ask them for those checks, because you really, really, really held us back. You really have. And I'm now beginning to see how much, because anytime any of us said, look, we're going to have to build another black community, and it may require some help from women from the outside that don't hate us and don't look down on us. You niggas come along and say, oh, that's a pedophile. Oh, he's into other men. He's into man's booty. Oh, he's into babies. He's into kids. Anything except that he's a heterosexual. Anything except that. And doxing people. So you can falsely accuse them, then put the information out there so that people who are not necessarily evil but are very easily misled and stupid will turn around and go after these folks. You know, making them unsafe because they have the nerve to tell the truth about how dysfunctional the matriarch and the gynocrat is and how wrong you are for supporting her and caping for her. You stupid niggas. Boy, I tell you, man, they got this thing. I mean, I got to hand it to white folk. Their game is tight. You want to sit up here and talk about game, man, game. Boy, you'll never have game like these white folks have. I guess you do have game, actually. You make it so that they don't even have to do anything. You're doing the Klan's job for them. Yeah, I guess that is game. But look how deceptive it was. Look how destructive it's been. You would rather have these women sneaking into prisons to screw death row inmates who actually are guilty, or sneaking into zoos to outright screw gorillas, than to have them have kids with normal run-of-the-mill non-stereotypical black men. I can't believe you niggas think like this. And they're going to descend to this level at some point, the way things are going. Well, guess that does it for I guess that about does it for this one. So, this was part 4. I'm going to listen to more of it, and then I'm going to come grill y'all asses some more in part 5, inshallah. And I don't make any apologies for this either. Because what I'm doing is talking. I'm not threatening anybody. But now that this is open and this is known, the punishment, which is already coming upon many of us in the form of this pandemic, the punishment that you're going to have to deal with afterwards from on high is going to be a hell of a lot worse. I'm actually the warner before the punishment. I am that chance to repent. But when that chance is over and you just keep on down this road, you're going to have to stand in front of your Lord, not only having worship somebody else. On top of that, you're going to have to stand in front of your Lord, your actual maker, having oppressed a bunch of other people. And he doesn't forgive either of those two things. So you're going to have to stand in front of your Lord for the two things for which he has promised to not forgive people: taking another Lord and oppressing others. Yeah, you got your work cut out for you, man. I wouldn't trade places with you for nothing. And yes, I am better than you. Not because I'm me and I'm selfish, but because I simply made a better and more moral decision. SYSBM is better than you. Even the ones who trick are better than you. Passport Gang, the ones who trick, are better than you. Ibmore are better than you. Because they simply made better decisions considering the options they had. You, with more options, made far worse decisions. May Allah guide you or destroy you. Black heart, black mind, sign of blackout, black heterosexual male power, specifically because you niggas don't like it.